Afternoon and greetings to our Berea College campus community. I'm your co-host, Dwayne Mack, the VP for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. And I'd like to welcome you to our online forum regarding the interim Title IX sexual harassment policy and procedures. We thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules, and especially before a busy holiday weekend to attend this important forum. You will first hear opening remarks from President Roloffs and then our Title IX coordinator, Jocelyn Glover. She will present on the Title IX regulations that brought about the need to create this new policy and procedures. After her presentation, we will open the floor to our audience for comments. Please be sure to raise your hand, to use the raise your hand feature in Zoom to ask questions. Thank you again for attending this important session. President.
Well, good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for taking time on the dawn of a holiday weekend. I appreciate your interest. I'll just offer some background, and then we will get on to the current matters we need to deal with. I want to say that I was very proud of the progress that we had made in the area of addressing and curbing sexual misconduct, sexual harassment, et cetera, over the last couple of years. We've had excellent people serving in the Title IX coordinator role, and really Jocelyn, having been with us now for several years, has been doing excellent work. And as a result, victims have gotten less reluctant to file complaints, and many complex cases were handled fairly. Once in a while, appeals would come to me, but by and large, we were doing very well. Unfortunately, the Department of Education stepped in with a new set of constraints, really a different frame for how to think about and how to respond to complaints. Of course, we have no choice but to comply. We have always complied with legitimate regulation from the federal government and the state, and only objected when it was completely contrary to our mission. And therefore, I have provided a presidential approval for the current draft version of our Title IX complaints, so that we are technically in compliance right now. In the long run, of course, we want full compliance through our full approval through our governance process, so that'll include approval by the General Faculty Assembly and then approval by the Board of Trustees. My thanks to the team led by Jocelyn and Dwayne, who took on this effort. You didn't have very long to work with, just 6 weeks or so, and we were in the middle of a pandemic, and yet an awful lot of work was done. At one point, Jocelyn told me the length of the federal regulations that we had to deal with. If I'm remembering right, it was over 1,000 pages, and fortunately, we've been able to boil our policy down to under 40 pages, so it is somewhat manageable. I'm hopeful that this process of review will result in a draft document that the GFA will be able to approve at its next meeting. And then when the board meets later this fall, I hope that we will finish the process then. I am pleased, even though I do not believe that the new federal requirements will make these systems operate better and more fairly to all concerned. I am pleased that in areas not covered by the scope of the new federal requirements, we will be allowed to have a parallel policy that will more closely resemble the current successful policy we have. And so the team working on our response to Title IX policy changes is also working on those parallel policies, which will be helpful in terms of assuring the best possible community approach to these unfortunate kinds of behaviors and incidents. Incidents and behaviors in which there are no winners. You can have a process that endeavors to improve the community and the environment overall, But there's never a winner. There are only losers in these processes, and that's because of the nature of the behaviors that we're dealing with here. I do believe that attempts to make Title IX policies more like the legal system, a police-based process, are bound to be unsatisfactory, that campus-based processes can function much better than anything in the legal system. And all you have to do is look at how many cases actually get successfully handled at any level of the legal system. Almost none. And yet over the last several years at Berea College, we've handled successfully probably a dozen complicated cases that just simply would not have come forward in the legal system. So all that being said, I would like us to do the best we can to prepare policies that will serve our community as well as can be managed given the requirements. And with that said, I will turn it over to Jocelyn for the real presentation of content here. Thank you again for attending.
Thank you, President Roloffs. All right, so to get started, I think the best place to start is outlining how we got here from a timeline perspective. The Department of Education issued proposed regulations over a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago, in November of 2018. These proposed regulations demonstrated what we knew was coming with some broad sweeping changes. Then it progresses and we have a written comment period. That written comment period, there were over 124,000 comments provided. Then in the middle of our pandemic, in May of 2020, the Department of Education issues the final rule. This is a pretty remarkable feat, even though there may be some things in here that make it very difficult for us. This is remarkable because the last time the Department of Education issued regulations was in 1975. So it had been a few years since they had actually taken on regulations. But the fact that there were that many comments and the fact that the final rule is actually over 2,000 pages, those 2,000 pages is what it took for the Department of Education to actually explain why they did what they did. The regulation itself is only about 15 pages. The regulations are basically the equivalent of law. They have the full force and effect of law. And the reason I say that is because when we read this policy, and I'm sure there will be some who will go, this seems limiting, this just doesn't seem right. You're not reading it incorrectly. You're probably reading exactly how it's intended, because the regulations are very prescriptive. The regulations are limiting, which is exactly why, as President Roloff said, we at Berea College, we're also looking to develop and are developing that companion policy. Why are we developing the companion policy? Because without it, and all we had was our Title IX sexual harassment policy, then conduct that's currently, or should I say, as of August 13th, currently prohibited would not be prohibited under this new Title IX policy. So therefore, it is very important for us to maintain our current protections, and to do so, we must have that companion policy. So therefore, just to remember that this policy does have one sole purpose, and that is to comply with the federal regulation. As President Roloffs mentioned, there was an ad hoc committee, and I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you to the ad hoc committee, which is Canaria Brown, Andrea Woodward, Althea Webb, Samantha Cole, and Steve Lawson. I say a big thank you because not only did you put in a lot of work this summer, you're continuing to put in work now as we're continuing to review this policy as well as the companion policy. Now for some content base, I know one of the things I asked is I did send the link to the interim policy because I think it's also important for everyone to take a read of that. The language is different, and this is why I want to start here. It is important to remember that this policy, the reason we call it the Title IX sexual harassment policy, is because the regulations limit us to this conduct. So the regulation limits us to call it to sexual harassment. Sexual harassment is an umbrella term. This umbrella term encompasses the offense of sexual harassment, but also the offense of sexual assault, domestic violence, dating violence, and stalking. So when we think about these language changes, it's also important to think about our scope and jurisdiction changes. Title IX regulations have now limited us to 4 things that must be present for Title IX to apply. 1, the conduct must meet the definition of sexual harassment, meaning the umbrella term. 2, the conduct must occur in an educational program or activity, or must be done by someone with whom the college has control. 2, the conduct must occur in the United States. And the law says in the United States means the 50 states of the United States of America. And 4 is at the time of the filing of the complainant must be attempting to participate or participating in an educational program or activity. One other big change is the removal of responsible employee. So in issuing the regulations, the Department of Education removed the references to responsible employee, therefore also removing really a requirement for reporting. However, our ad hoc committee said, we won't do that here at Berea. We have the ability to maintain required reporting, we will do so. And by doing so, those required reporters, according to the policy currently, are our college officers, our administrative committee members, all teaching faculty, also our library staff and faculty, supervisory staff, meaning a staff member who supervises another person, labor supervisors, athletic staff, Title IX coordinator and the Title IX team, also our area coordinators, our RAs and their supervisors, as well as college security officers. Another new concept is the concept of having an advisor. This advisor is required under the regulations, and the advisor is a person of any party's choice. So that means it could be any person. It can be a friend, a family member, a mentor, or an attorney. And again, the party has the choice to choose who that person is. One thing to keep in mind, this advisor does have a key role per the regulations. This advisor is responsible for conducting the cross-examination at the live hearing. And I'd like to end on a positive. A positive is that the regulations did maintain our ability to provide supportive measures. Under the previous policy, we call these interim measures. So this means these are things that we can put into place to help support and protect complainants when they come forward with a report or we're put on notice of sexual harassment, that we don't require a complaint. It doesn't require any further action except that notice and report. And these type of actions can be put into place to protect our complainants. Just a quick review. Yes, our written comment period is ending this afternoon. So if you do have written comments, you can provide them to the Title IX email. However, we are also recording this online forum. So we will also take note of the comments that we receive here during the forum. And I will stop sharing my screen. And at this point, would like to turn it over back to our co-host as well. And if anybody has any questions, please use your raise hand feature so to participate in the forum.
Thank you, Jocelyn, for explaining the policy and procedures. Yeah, so now we would like to open it up to questions. And please keep in mind, we want to thank you for your patience. This has been a difficult process. We've been hit with multiple pandemics, and most of you have been all of you have been very patient with us. So we'd like to turn it over now to the audience, and please raise your hand if you have a question or two. Jocelyn, can you take over that? Can you see the multiple?
I am looking at the attendees. I do not see
I do not see hands.
hands at this point.
Oh, I see a hand. Oh, I saw a hand.
Oh, you did?
Was it Amanda? Amanda. I think you had your hand up, Amanda.
Amanda, can you unmute?
Maybe let me go
Yes.
to my chat to see.
My hand up. I don't have my hand up.
Okay, there's a chat. Okay, Amanda said she did not have her hand up. I apologize, Amanda. I was eager for a hand.
Okay, it looks like Marlene. Uh-oh.
Good afternoon, everyone. Yes, thank you all so much. President Rolos, Ms. Jocelyn, and Mr. Mack, thank you all. It is a great feat what you all were able to accomplish in the ad hoc committee. I wanted to ask specifically with the writing of the Title IX that we do have access to, what is a way to increase students' awareness or just more that they are able to have the opportunity to have access to it, or if they have questions, what are ways to engage them in that discussion as well, or that you all would see fit in doing so? Thank you so much.
Rosalind, you want to take that, please? Thank you.
So Marlene, I think one of the reasons exactly why students were invited to this online forum is because we absolutely do want to hear from students. Yeah. And we want your input with regard to this policy. And that's part of the invitation. Now, I think there might have been how to engage yes. even more so. You know, it's funny you asked that because I've got meetings coming up with doing some different programming, looking at programming with the peer educators, as well as maybe even trying to do some programming in the residential halls as well. And the reality is I am here 24/7. So please, while I may not be literally in Lincoln Hall, I am absolutely available. Call the phone number, it rings to a cell phone. If I don't answer, leave a message, email me. I am here. And you know, the other thing I like to do is also engage with students who are saying, hey, I would like to do X for our campus. Yes. And I am more than willing to work with students to help bring about that programming. And in other words, help also to provide some funding and support for the programming as well. So Marlene, I absolutely do welcome to work with any of our students. And hopefully if there's something you have in mind, maybe we can discuss offline and figure out how I can be of assistance.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Jocelyn. Appreciate it. Great to see y'all. Thank you. Yes. Thank you.
Hi, Jackie Burnside here. I was just thinking as you were talking, Jocelyn, about opportunity to engage in program to get more student awareness and faculty and staff. Since this is being recorded, were you thinking of maybe creating small mini clips, film clips, video clips that groups could show, like maybe at the labor meetings? Our social department has 2 workers, and we've arranged to have a joint meeting of the social faculty with our student workers. And if we had like maybe a 7-10 minute clip, video clip of you doing what you did with a couple of questions or things that we could build into our discussion at the end, that would go pretty well, I think. And those 2 students are helping to revitalize our sociology club in this virtual atmosphere. So they may have some ideas that they could talk to you about once they see you presenting the information, how they might use that to help be something that their social club could do.
And that is something that we can consider. That's an excellent suggestion. And we'll meet to discuss that with Jocelyn and the ad hoc as well. I just want to make one comment about meeting with students. We have met with some students about 2 weeks ago, and we have a coming meeting, I think, next week with some concerned students. So we have talked and communicated with students about the Title IX policy. Marlene, and all.
Okay. And you have the sociologist on the ad hoc committee, so maybe she's already thought of that. I'll ask her to.
Excellent. The best type. The best kind of person to have. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have a question from Sherry Gordon to all panelists. Can you provide clarification as to whether there are any changes to the obligations of faculty, staff, labor, supervisors if a student shares information indicating harassment has taken place? What's the best plan of action there with these new regulations? Jocelyn?
So, Sherry, that's a good question. So the answer to that is it doesn't change. There's still a requirement for reporting. The only change is the wording. So the responsible employee wording has disappeared, and we are replacing that in our policy with the wording of a required reporter. So absolutely, if you are a labor supervisor, if you are a staff member who supervises someone else, so that may mean you don't serve as a labor supervisor, but maybe you supervise another employee, then you also are a required reporter. And then if you notice when I went through some of the list, it's a little different than what's in our current policy because we were trying to also provide some clarification to our campus as to which staff members are impacted and required to report. So the answer is yes, still required to report, and which staff members, so labor supervisors are included, but we're also talking about supervisory staff and then the other list of employees that I listed as well.
Thank you. Thank you, Jocelyn. I hope that answers the question. I think Judge wanted to know or mention something about the process as we move forward for approval of the policy and procedures, the GFA, then the Board of Trustees. Maybe you can mention that process that we had discussed or worked out.
So currently, the policy has, as you all know, as President Roloff said, has been interimly approved by the AC and is in place currently so that we can be in compliance with the regulations. This also has been presented to the GFA, and so we're going through the comment period so that we can make any necessary revisions, then provide it back to the GFA for a motion and a vote. Following the GFA motion and vote, this policy and procedure will also be presented to the Board of Trustees. They will also have the opportunity to review, and then also vote for approval. So we are about midway through the governance process at this point. We still have a few more steps to take before final approval.
Thank you. I think Jim had a comment. I think Jim was helping me with this technology. Jim, do you want to step in and do you have some comments? Oh, I'm sorry. Before Jim, Jenna, real quick. Hi, Jenna. You need to unmute.
Hi, I'm unmuted, I think. I didn't raise my hand that I know of.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, Jim was trying to
okay.
help me out with this technology. I apologize, Jenna.
No worries.
How you doing?
Doing good. How are you?
I'm all right. Thank you.
Glad to hear it.
All right, thanks.
So Dwayne, I also noticed that we do have a question in the Q&A. The person asks, it's from an anonymous attendee. The person states, I directly work with students and students tell me all kinds of things, but I am not a required reporter. I never quite understood why not all college employees are required reporters. Can we take another look at that? And the answer to that question is absolutely. That is absolutely something we could take another review and look, and I appreciate your comment. And that is something that we can move forward and place into our written comment period. Absolutely.
And to that person, we had the same concern.
Absolutely.
It was heavily debated.
How do we say heavily debated, and we were overruled, but thank you and we appreciate it. So we'll put it back up for debate.
Thank you. Okay, we have another Destiny. Will students be able to speak their voice in regards to meeting with the Board of Trustees? To what degree does Berea College donors have a say with the Title IX or with Title IX? But they want to know if they're going to be able to, speak to the Board of Trustees.
Question for which I actually do not know for certain. President Roloffs, do you by chance?
Yes, I suppose I should be the one to respond. Thank you for the question, Destiny, and I hope you're doing well. I don't know that we will have, well, I do know that we will not be having an in-person board meeting this fall. That meeting will be virtual, and it would be, I think, difficult to arrange for student participation in the actual meeting. So what I certainly could arrange for you, Destiny, and other students would be an opportunity to gather your comments in writing and make sure that the Board of Trustees has access to any written comments. Secondly, you ask, to what degree do Berea College donors have a say with Title IX? They do not have any say with Title IX and never have, as far as I know, as we have worked on our policies throughout the years. I'm sure Berea College donors, being the wonderful people that they are, want us to have not only fair policies, but also policies that promote the great commitments and promote all students, faculty, and staff having a positive experience within our community. So to the extent that donors have a view on this, I'm sure they want us to do everything we can to use Title IX policies to make our community as robust as possible for all participants. In fact, for me, what really determines how we want our community to interact with one another are the great commitments. And the great commitments are very eloquent when it comes to how we should be treating one another and responding to one another in the community.
Thank you. And this will be up for approval in October at the Board of Trustees meeting. So thank you, President Rolos. Any other questions? Hope that's not the same. Jackie? Not sure if she. Jackie, do you have another question? Dr. Burnside? No?
Yeah, I was trying to just lower my hand. I didn't have a new question.
Oh, okay, okay. Thank you.
Yeah, me and technology, I'm still learning.
Okay, so, okay, thank you. That's okay. And with our companion, I guess, yes. With our companion policy, companion policy will follow a similar process of drafting and review. We'll also have a forum for that document as well, and action by the GFA and Board of Trustees. So it's going to go through the vetting process as well. Or the review process. I don't know if that's me. Any other questions, maybe? Not missing.
Not seeing any other raised hands.
Oh, well, I don't know why I have, Jim, I keep going back to Jim for some reason. I don't know if my cursor was over his. Jim, do you have something to say?
I was just mentioning that I didn't see anyone else besides the participants. So, and I didn't know, I couldn't hear anybody until the first commenter said something. So that's why I wrote never mind. So.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
Just a technology problem.
Yeah, we have about 29 people,
yeah.
29 participants. This is difficult to end. And I want to, Jim, thanks for your comments. Maybe most people don't know that the work that you've put in to reviewing that document. And we really appreciate your effort as an advocate.
So, sorry, which comments are you referring to?
You made comments on the document itself, on the interim policy. Jim Butler? Hello, Jim?
Yeah, I'm trying.
Yeah.
Are you referring to the ones I already gave to Jocelyn and Judge?
Yes,
Oh.
just your attention that you've given to the document. We want to thank you. I haven't had the chance to personally thank you. I couldn't make that last meeting, so thank you, sir.
You are welcome.
We appreciate you. We appreciate everybody that's here today and those that couldn't make it and those that have provided input. So thank you, thank you, thank you. If that's it, we're gonna close out and wish everybody a happy and safe holiday. Continue to mask up and wash those hands, and we'll be back in touch soon.
And good luck in your campaign, Destiny.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Lau, can we hold the line 1 second after everybody, or we can't do that? Okay, all right, that's all right. All right, bye-bye. I'll